That's weekly. There we go. All right, well, we're about a minute or so after, so we'll go ahead and get kicked off here. And I'm gonna have to put on my reader glasses. I finally got a chance to come out of the cave. They're pretty much done, maybe 90% done with the paint and things here in the house. So I'm able to move back upstairs to the main floor instead of in the basement. So I don't have my computer set up. It's all still downstairs. So I'm going to be reading this off of my phone while I have my iPad on here. So forgive me as I put on my reader glasses to go with the reader boards. So it happens when you get old. But we'll kick off for last week on the leaderboards. And then we'll move into covering last month, since last Friday was the end of the month, right? And then we got a special guest today, Mr. Eric, don't spell it without a K, Sullivan, Eric Sullivan. Eric Tiberius Sullivan is going to be covering the cake presentation for us today. So I really think you're going to get a lot out of it. For those of you who kind of need to understand a little bit more conceptually about how to kind of build the different options and solutions for a client, but also for the customer to kind of be able to absorb and digest that a little bit better. I think you're really going to enjoy what Eric has to cover with us for today. So I'm basically going to cover the leaderboards, and I'm going to punt it over to Mr. Sullivan, and he's going to lead our call today. So let me get my spreadsheet pulled back up here again now. So we will start with number 10, Miss Donna Bates. Had one application for $895 direct to Spencer Cushion. Mr. John Gilliam, who's super part-time, one application for right at $1,000 direct to myself. Number 8, Ms. Angel Gooding, one application for $1,286 direct to myself. Brad Higgins coming clean with 3 applications. And I believe those are med subs, right? For $1,553 direct to Mr. Eric Sullivan. Number 6, Stacy Love, 4 applications for $2,608 direct to Miss Donna Bates. And then number 5, Spencer Cushion himself with 2 applications for $2,611 direct to Chris Menifee. And then Gavin Whittle, one of our new guys who's been on fire, 4 applications for $3,138 direct to Mr. Lionel Anderson. And then number 3, Miss Jenny Gray, 5 applications, $3,514 direct to myself. And then first time writer, straight out of the box, last Saturday, instant approval, Mr. Sean Cochran at the number 2 spot, 1 application for $4,674.96 direct to Mr. Mark Roberts in the Better Agency. And then leading the front, Miss Stella, don't call me Stelly, Dinwiddie. And the 3 applications for $7,084 direct to Mr. Chris Menifee. So great job there this last week for everybody who went out and protected families. So great job. Let me
and a quick word on Stella's actually at Agency Owner Academy and still managed to get that production in. She front loaded. So hats off to Stella for planning ahead and making it happen. That's the way to do it.
That is right. That is right. And while I'm going through the monthly leaderboard for last month, Chris, would you mind enabling Eric so he can be a host, so he can share his screen when he does this presentation?
Yeah, make sure you cover last week after Friday turn in too. There's down at the bottom of that weekly spreadsheet.
Hold on one second. Good call. Good call. Let me check that out. See, I may have overlooked that. Oh, you're right. You sure? Yep, I see it now. And that's a good call. So actually last Friday, to Chris's point, for folks who didn't get a shout out on the actual Friday call because business was written after the fact, Chase Frank had 1 application for $465. Miss Sophia Williams had 1 application for $706. Terry Myers had 4 applications for $1,058. Stella had 2 applications for $1,331. Jenny had 2 applications for $1,550. And then Spencer Cushion actually had 3 applications for $3,712 on Friday after the meeting. So not a bad way to end up the week, right? Excuse me. So thanks for that, because I didn't see that, Chris. Thank you. All right, so let's jump in here to the monthly leaderboards. And as a total for the master hierarchy, We had 36 writing agents. There were 252 applications for $232,699.53 in APV. We had, let me see, we had 6 new writing agents for the month in the master hierarchy, and major shout out to the folks in my organization. 5 of those new writers were in the Better Agency. So outstanding. And the other point is none of those new writers were direct to me personally. They were all direct to people on the team, which is just incredible. So major kudos to everybody in the organization this last month, and great job overall. We set another record for our team with total writing agents. We had 25 writing agents in our group for right at $140,000 in APV submit. Couldn't be more proud of this group and folks making team leader, key leader, AO runs across the board. Just really excited of what the rest of the second half of this year is going to bring for the team as a whole, coming into and leading out of conference. So let's cover the numbers for last month. So we'll jump down in here and just kick off at number, let me see here, because some of these are real close, and so let's start with number 12, because so many of these are really close right in this actual in this. Tell you what, let's do top 20, right? It's the end of the month, so let's cover the top 20. All right, so number 20, again, Mr. Part-Time James McKeon, 4 applications for $3,953 direct to myself. Number 19, Sophia Williams, 8 applications for $3,957 direct to Mr. Marcus Williams. And then number 18, Angel Gooding, part of the Cajun Connection down there in Lafayette. 3 applications for $4,304 direct to myself. And then we had number 17, Joanna Doyben, 6 applications, $4,641 direct to Mr. Lionel Anderson. And then we had number 16, Natalie Hermit, 3 applications for $5,290 direct to Mr. Eric Sullivan. Number 15, Ellis Hubbard, 5 applications for $5,454 direct to myself. And again, new writer, number 14 spot, Gavin Whittle, 8 applications for $5,487 direct to Mr. Lionel Anderson. Number 13, Donna Bates for 9 applications for $5,727 direct to Spencer Kujan. Number 12, Derek McPherson, 6 applications for $6,325 direct to myself. Number 11, Miss Mary Brown, 7 applications for $7,154 direct to myself. Then we had number 10, top 10 coming in here, Mr. Lionel Anderson himself. I know Lionel has actually not been feeling well. He's been out sick for a couple of weeks here, so hope you're feeling better there, brother. Number 10, Lionel Anderson, 10 applications for $7,776 direct to myself. Number 9, myself with 8 applications for $7,921 direct to Mr. Chris Menifee. Number 8, Mr. Mark Roberts, 9 applications, $8,648 direct to myself. Number 7, Terry Myers, 21 applications, $8,895 direct to Miss Stella Dinwiddie. Number 6, Miss Sydney Lee, 15 applications, $11,067 direct to Miss Stella Dinwiddie. Then we had number 5, Stacy Love, 17 applications for $12,842 direct to Miss Donna Bates. Number 4, Stella herself, Miss Stella Dinwiddie, 17 applications for $20,187 direct to Mr. Chris Menifee. Number 3, you'll hear from him shortly on our call, making his run for AO, Mr. Eric Sullivan with 17 applications for $23,280 direct to myself. Number 2, Spencer Kujan, 23 apps for $27,828 direct to Mr. Chris Menifee. And bringing in the number 1 spot, no stranger, both at the top at APV and app count, Miss Jennifer Gray, 25 applications for $28,791 direct to myself. Outstanding month, everyone, overall. Just incredible job to everybody that went out and helped protect families this last month. So we'll pause for a moment and I'll punt back over to Chris. Now, Stella is actually still at AO Academy today, correct? or she's traveling?
I believe she's traveling.
Okay, no worries. I just
Traveling
want
this morning. So,
no worries. I just want
so
to give her an opportunity. But Chris, you have anything housekeeping wise you want to cover?
yeah, just heads up. Obviously, we're on the final run to conference here. About 3 weeks left. Don't forget, get yourself some free rooms. We have all the agency owners have stepped up. 10,000 APV, get you 1 night. 15, get you 2 nights. 20, get you 3 nights. So, and that's for doing what you already should be doing, and that's making money and taking care of yourself and your family. So, we're gonna get you guys hooked up with some free rooms. So take advantage of that. And guys, the last 30 days going into conference, I mean, historically, that's been some of the best time to get people there, because it's, you know, it's not 3 months out. I have to figure out what I'm doing. It's 3 weeks out, and am I available or am I not? You know, and so, and honestly, if anybody's coming into this business right now, I mean, there's no reason. I mean, they have to get to conference, because I mean that is literally going to make or break their business right out of the gate. And I always tell people, hey, you know, you're in a huge advantage here, because a lot of people have to wait a few months to get this level of training. You can get it right off, you know, right off the jump. And,
Well, a couple
and
of
they
years.
don't have to.
But a couple of years, we haven't had an in-person conference in what, 2 years now, right?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Trust me. That's been a huge dampener on our businesses as a whole. I mean, we're the reason why we're so pumped up is because we haven't had one of these in 2 years, and yeah, it's that important. So having this event, and especially for those of you who are recruiting, I mean, man, perfect timing. Somebody coming in has to move whatever they got to move to get there, you know, and take advantage of this. So, and hey, lesson from last time, I couldn't have told you in August of 2019. I would never have dreamed that would have been the last conference I'd go to for a couple years in person. So don't say, well, I'll catch the next one, because we've already seen we're not guaranteed the next one. So if you're serious about this business, get to conference. If you don't get to conference, you're not serious about this business. That's the equation right there. So, all right, guys, that's all I've got. John Paul, I'll throw it back to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, you have to understand. I mean, conference, you know, I had somebody I was talking to the other day, and they're new, and their comment was that, well, I can't afford to go. I don't have the money. I can't. Well, hell, that's exactly why you need to go. You better figure it out. Man, I'll pawn my kids' PlayStation or something. My kids are all adults anyway, but I'm just being silly. But I find a way, right? What I tell people is this: if you had a regular job that was paying you X amount salary, and you know you got bills to pay, you got kids to take care of and family obligations, and you had a job, and your transmission went out, or you needed gas money or whatever, you're not going to just not go to work because you didn't have gas money. Right? You're going to find out a way how to get some gas money. You're going to borrow it. You're going to put it on a credit card. You're going to find something to pawn. I mean, find a way. I mean, you'd find a way to get there to work a job for somebody else's dream. But when it comes to your own, you're going to find excuses. And that's not going to fly. You can tell anybody anything you want to, but when you go look in that mirror, you're going to know you can't tell yourself something that's not the truth, right? You've got to be committed to the thing. Find a way to get there, right? We've got people right now that have that want to share rooms, right? People are driving. Flights are stupid cheap right now, anywhere you go, but maybe you can't fly. And you find there were times we went to conference. I remember when we went to DC in 2018, I met some people, and they were from like Arizona or somewhere way out west. And this was in DC. They drove. And they packed in like 5 people, and they weren't all from Phoenix or wherever they were at. Like one person was from Tucson, the other one was from Phoenix. So he drove up and picked up that person. They picked up somebody else on their team, you know, or in the organization that lived in Dallas, and they stopped by someplace else in Little Rock. And the point was they picked up people along the way, and everybody chipped in for gas, and they split a room. I mean, You check in, you get your rooms, bring some sleeping bags. I mean, whatever you got to find a way, right? You got to put your pride aside. If you're in a position where you can't afford a room or you can't afford a flight, that's fine. But that doesn't excuse the fact that you need to be there so you don't ever find yourself in that position again, right? Find a way to get there, no matter what. Talk to us. I've had two of my folks in the last, one just now while we're on the call, and one the other day say, hey, look, man, I'm tight on money. I'm going. I got my ticket. I'm going, but I'm not sure I'll sleep in my car if I have to. This young man just texted me just now while we're on the heard my phone ping. He said, John Paul, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to conference, but I'll sleep in my car, right? And so I just texted him back and said, hey, I've got another guy that wants to go, and he's willing to split a room, right? So talk to us, work together so we can help you out and find a way to get you there, okay? So anyway, that's what I want to say about that. I mean, you'll find a way to get there if it means everything to you, and this is forever, you'll find a way to get there. And it's that important. This is not some rah-rah boondoggle in a corporate world where you're like, oh man, not another corporate conference, right? I promise you, if you go there and you immerse yourself in this experience, and you pick up everything that's being put down at that place, it will mitigate 6 to 9 months off of your learning curve. It is that serious, okay? You have some of the best people in this company willing to pour in and share with you. It's a wealth of information, free. You just got to find a way to go get there. It's like trying to find yourself, you're in the middle of the desert, and you got to try to find the oasis that's got the water for survival. You got to find a way to get to the oasis. You can't just keep wandering around the desert. Right. So I think you guys understand how important this is. And we wouldn't be harping on this, if we didn't personally believe and we weren't so passionate about just how mission critical this is to your success. Right. You can talk about the next one. Chances are it ain't going to be a next one for you if you don't make it to this conference. Right. And I don't care how well intended you are and how serious you think you are right now. I've just never seen it. I've been here 3 years now, Chris. I've yet to see somebody who didn't think they needed to go who's still here, right? Every person ever told me that I don't think I need to go. I'll catch the next one. Ain't a damn one of them here anymore. Just being honest. You know my style. I'm gonna just tell you the truth, right? So it's that. But the people that go significantly increases your chances of success. But not only that, but mitigate your learning curve and expedite that path to success, right? So anyway, that's all I want to share about that, because we want to see all of you there. We haven't had one in 2 years. This is really, really, really important. And so many of us haven't even had a chance to see each other in person. So that's really, really important for us to bond in that way, because we're family, right? We all have love for you. We want everyone to be successful here. So I'll end on that, and I will introduce our speaker. Anybody else have anything else from a housekeeping perspective they just want to chime in, share real quick before we move into the meat and potatoes of our meeting today? Bueller? All right. Well, coming up on deck, Mr. Eric Tiberius Sullivan, Eric with a K. His middle name's not Tiberius, but I tease him. I joke with him. So, who is in the middle of his AO run. You heard his production numbers for this last month. A veteran of this game. A rock solid team and organization between his directs and then Miss Natalie Hermit, who's his running buddy, and the folks in her organization. They are well positioned in their key leader and AO runs respectively. So super blessed to be on this journey with Eric and have had the opportunity to cross paths. Blessed to have you here, brother. I appreciate you more than you know, and really excited about what you're going to share with the team today. I know when we talked, I kind of left it up to you about what you wanted to cover on the training for today's call, and when you shared with me what you're going to cover today, I was like, you know what, that's perfect. That's great. So I really think you're getting a lot of value out of this. Make sure you have your pens and paper ready. Take some notes. And I know at some point, Eric, you're going to share some of the information that's going to be so folks can have access to some of the details for today. But I will mute my line and I will punt over to you, Eric. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Sullivan.
Oh, I can't hear it. No, I just went. I just went. Thank you, John Paul Vetter, and of course, Chris Menifee, and the entire hierarchy. Of course, Eric Sullivan, direct to John Paul Vetter, and so blessed to be so. And just happy to share on today about the cake presentation. I know this is something that I learned basically when I first started with Symmetry, and then of course, I've mentioned it a couple of times and maybe in the crew app, and there's been a couple of people reach out to me and say, well, what is that or whatever. So I thought it would be something that's good and maybe a little bit different for everyone to grab a hold of. When it comes to mortgage protection, generally speaking, there's like two sets of people that we actually sell mortgage protection to. You have those who are generally healthy, age 64 or younger, and then those who are not as healthy, 65 and older. And for those who are not as healthy, those who are 65 and older, we mainly offer them what? Critical period coverage, because what? It's the most affordable, so obviously it has to be something that's comfortable for the budget. Number two, of course, it's easier to qualify for. So, they don't have to do a bunch of blood work or other testing or whatever. And then, of course, it still is going to be able to do what they want it to do. And what is that? To allow their survivors the opportunity to stay in the home or receive the equity that they've built up in the home. Now, this is usually done, of course, with a permanent life insurance policy. For those who are healthy, though, 64 and under, we mainly are going to offer them what? Full or partial mortgage protection payoff. And that's usually presented because we can actually cover the entire mortgage or the bulk of it and have it paid off should something happen to that homeowner. And of course, that's usually done with a term policy with the term length matching the number of years that the mortgage loan was financed. In the context of the real system and that sales presentation, the cake presentation actually would take place right after completing the client qualification form and the financial fire drill. Why? Because now you have a better understanding of that prospect situation and you can make a recommendation that makes sense, and solves their problem and fits in overall, with their overall plan. And I can't state it enough that what we get paid to do is to, number one, communicate, but also solve problems. If you don't have or find or uncover the problem, it just simply doesn't matter. It's great that you know everything about this product and all that you can explain. All of that's great, but it's not going to make any difference if you don't uncover the problem. So I can't understate that step before. So we gather the information, we've uncovered the problem. Now we're ready to present solutions. When we present the full mortgage or the partial mortgage payoff solution, how it starts off is just simply asking a couple of questions. And I usually ask them right back to back. For example, have you seen a wedding cake before? How it has the tiers? You want to role play here, John Paul?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, what I'm going to do is explain the mortgage protection and the concept of a wedding cake with all of the tiers. Now, ideally, what you're going to want to do here is actually draw this out for them. And I cannot understate the power of you drawing it out for them, but I'm just kind of putting everything on the screen now. This is everything fully drawn out. And I think just by doing this, it kind of makes everything easier to understand and actually fairly easy to remember as well. But the one of the things that we want to do is, if we can diagram this out, if you're that person who goes out into the home, turn that lead over, draw this out for them on the back of the lead. If you're a person who's working telesales, meaning on Zoom, then again, go to the Zoom whiteboard and draw this out for them. I cannot understate the value of you drawing it out. If you do that, you look like a kingpin. You look like an expert of experts when you're able to kind of freestyle and just draw this out. The good news is that it's not a lot of detailed drawing. It's just really a bunch of boxes and you're writing some words here. But again, if you can do that. The other thing here is, naturally, when you're doing the cake presentation as well, we're only going to show what applies to them. For example, if the prospect doesn't have any children, then we're not going to show the child rider. If they're already disabled, then we're not going to offer them disability. So we're only going to show them and offer what applies to them. And of course, the foundation or the bottom tier of the mortgage protection cake here, it's called death benefit. So this is what we're telling the client. The foundation or the bottom tier of the mortgage protection cake is called death benefit, and that's what we would write out. What that means is that, you know, for the rest of the program, if you don't want it, you can leave it, but you automatically, at minimum, will have to have a death benefit. Does that make sense? And John Paul says, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay.
It does.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then, of course,
I wasn't sure you moved into the role play or if you were still just kind of teeing it up for the team. So I'll assume that I'm the client and you're actually presenting this to me.
Well, I'm assuming you're riding with me. I'm in and out.
There we go. All right. I'm going to pick up what you're putting down. Let's roll.
All right, I got you. All right, then of course, mortgage protection, what you also will continue to say is that mortgage protection is a simplified issue type of program, meaning that you're not going to have to need to have somebody come out and take your blood or urine and doing some other type of other testing. As long as the answers on the to the questions on the application, as long as they match what's in your medical record, then everything is good. The way that the program works is that, you know, you can take a 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30-year policy, depending on your age, you know, and or the length of the loan. In your case, since you're 45 years old, that's right, I backdated you, John Paul.
I wish.
I know. Since you're 45 years old, and of course, you have financed this loan for 30 years, then it makes sense to look at a policy that will last 30 years to cover for that length of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So in terms of coverage, you can get a minimum of $25,000 and a maximum of $500,000. Now your mortgage is $200,000. If something happened and I was able to give, you know, your wife $100,000, would she be mad at me?
No.
Okay. So what do you think that she could actually do with that $100,000, even though your mortgage is $200,000?
I mean, she could put the money in the bank and just keep making the payments and maybe sell the place if she wanted to move somewhere else, or she could actually, I would probably call the bank and, you know, and refinance the difference for a significantly lower monthly payment.
Exactly. So in other words, again, it doesn't matter that your mortgage is $200,000. You can go as little as $25,000, as high as $500,000. That makes sense, right?
Right.
All right. Now, after the death benefit, there are additional benefits that you can actually add on to the policy for a little bit extra per month, and these are called riders. The first rider that we can add on to the mortgage protection policy is disability. Now, the way that disability works is that if you get sick or hurt and you can't work, then you can receive anywhere from $200 a month to $3,000 a month in disability benefits. It doesn't matter that you have disability coverage at work. This is going to be something additional. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so just as important, you don't have to fight with the insurance company to get them to pay out on this, meaning there's a 3-month elimination period. So in other words, you have to be disabled for 3 months or 90 days before the benefits can start. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you become disabled and the doctor says that you're disabled. You call me up, you're going to say, Eric, I need that money from the policy because I'm disabled. The insurance company is going to send over a form to your doctor. He signs off on it and sends it back. The insurance companies, they start the payments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's kind of that simple. Now,
I guess it's a little bit different in the regard that the stuff I've got through work really handles like workers' comp stuff. If I get hurt related to my job, this would cover me if I was going out on a boat on the weekend or just doing personal things, you know, on my own time. This would cover me no matter what, right?
Absolutely. You understand it properly. Definitely. Great comment. The next rider that we can actually add on to your mortgage protection cake is called accidental death. Now, the way that accidental death works is that you can get up to, I guess, number one, the amount of your death benefit. So if you have a $200,000 death benefit, then you can get an additional $200,000 in accidental death coverage for a total of $400,000. So let's say that you were in an accident on 285. And for those who don't know, 285 is like a major highway here in Georgia. So you're in an accident on 285 and you die. You know, you slip coming down the steps, you hit your head on the banister and you die. You're in a plane, it falls out of the sky and you die. In other words, anything that didn't start with you being sick is an accident. If you die from that and you have this accidental death rider on your policy, then you get both of these. And of course, I would be pointing to the death benefit as well as the accidental death. So then, as a result, this is double indemnity. So now if you die from a heart attack, then your family gets 200,000. If you die from an accident, then your family gets how much?
400,000.
400,000 is exactly. So a lot of people like this because it doubles the coverage for about $7 more per month. And statistically, 65, 70% of the people in our country, they die due to accidents. And of course, you can Google it, according to Stella, and it's true. Accidents are the third leading cause of death in our country. The next benefit that you can actually add on to your mortgage protection cake is a child rider. This covers each child for up to $15,000. They can ride onto the policy until they're age 26. A lot of people like this option because it's an inexpensive way to cover their children. On average, whether you have one child or whether you have 10 children, like James McKeon, I believe, they can actually be covered for $15,000 for about $6 a month. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, excellent. And of course, the last rider that you can add onto your mortgage protection cake is ROP, or return of premium. And how this works is that you have to get a policy that lasts at least 20 years. But let's just say you take out a policy, you make the premium payments, but you actually outlive the policy. This rider simply says that you get the premiums back that you put into the policy. So if you paid $15,000 in premiums over the last 30 years and of having the policy, then you get those premiums back. And it's kind of that simple. One thing that I do want to make sure that everybody notes here on the call, though, is that for some of the riders, you want to know the ins and outs of these riders. For example, with the return of premium, not all of the carriers return 100% of the premiums. So you want to make sure that you are knowledgeable of that before you, quote unquote, make general statements, so to speak. But right now, what we're just kind of teaching, so to speak, is just the basic concept of how everything works. The same situation, for example, with disability. That disability can only be a certain percentage of the actual face amount of the policy. So you said, $200 to $3,000. What's going to matter the most is what the face amount of that policy is, and it has to be within a certain percentage of that. You get a $10,000 or $25,000 face amount, they're not going to allow you to have a $3,000 benefit.
Right.
So,
right. And the other caveat there too, great point, Eric. The other caveat there too on the disability is some carriers, as the riders, will actually differentiate between whether or not the disability is for accident only disability or just disability in general, which would include illness or sickness. And so, like as an example, American Amicable, you have a way to differentiate which one of those you want. And the one that's general disability for both is a little bit more, but for a couple of dollars, most people would want that. But again, if somebody just said, hey, I'm not worried about getting sick, I just want to know if I get hurt, I can, an accident, then you'd select accident only. And you can tell the difference when you read the quoter. Some of them just have the box you check and it covers all of it. But make sure you understand the nuances there of what that particular carrier does. And again, the sales support teams at each of the carriers, that's what their job is. I don't want to derail what you're doing, Eric, but I do want to make this point. I think a lot of times people overlook the fact that the 1-800 numbers at every insurance company that we have access to, that's their job. Their job every day is to be there to support you. If you have questions, if you need to learn things, if you need information about what is this or what is that, call them, wear them out. That's their job. So that way you have all the information you need directly from the carrier on that particular coverage or option or rider, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent point, John Paul. And that's not just for quote unquote newer agents, but for seasoned agents as well. The bottom line is that that's how you learn. And what we get paid to do is to be an expert and know our craft. So for you to be able to call because you are not quite as sure when you're looking at an illustration on an IUL or something or an annuity or whatever, for you to be able to call that carrier is huge. And that's their job. They will sit there and explain every column, every number, so on and so forth, tell you how to run the illustration, so on and so forth. That's just going to be more meaningful for you as an expert and how you're able to come across to your clients. So you definitely want to do that. So after basically explaining everything there on the cake presentation, or those benefits and riders, essentially what's happening is that you're just going to say something to the effect of, no, I'm going to allow you to pick everything that you want on the cake. If you want my help, just ask. And, I'll recommend what areas that I think that makes sense given what you told me about your situation. Also, we can, of course, pare down in some areas if we need to. And of course, I can explain why that area. Now, remember, I'm here to meet your needs and it has to fit your budget. If you got to choose between paying this and taking your family out to eat, then obviously this is too expensive, right? Right, John Paul says. Okay, so the next question is just very simply, what do you want your mortgage protection cake to look like? And then, of course, that client is going to, say, yeah, well, because I'm a business owner, yeah, that disability piece, I definitely want to do that. Take a look at that. I want that accidental death. And yeah, let's just start right there. And then, of course, what you would do is simply go ahead and create those their program for them, given the options that they've already selected, how they want their mortgage protection cake to look like. It's also good for us to kind of understand as well, generally speaking, a person is not going to spend more than about 10% of their total mortgage payment. So they're not going to, generally speaking, spend more than about 10% of that. So if, they have a $1,200 mortgage, you're probably looking at about $120 at the most that you're probably looking at in that situation. So that's kind of a general rule of thumb that we want to keep in mind. And of course, in presenting the options, we're probably going to offer that full mortgage payoff with the riders, of interest that they've already selected. And then, of course, we're also going to probably present a partial payoff, which is usually like half of that amount. So in the example that we were using today was a $200,000 mortgage. So a partial is probably going to be $100,000, but then a separate accidental policy to overlap that. So when those are combined, we have a total of that full mortgage balance.
Yeah, the whole point is making sure your client understands that it's whatever's comfortable for your budget. Some people go into this thing thinking they have to have the full payoff on the house and they get sticker shock. And now they automatically shut down mentally and think, well, I don't need to get anything. I can't afford that, so I don't need anything. And you got to go into this priming the pump for them so that they already understand and they're open to the fact that it could be full payoff. Maybe it's half, maybe it's something that's less than that, but the benefit is you can pay down the balance on your mortgage and refinance the difference. And the way I position that with clients is when I'm showing them that, we talk about the $200,000 and the $100,000 option as an example, right? So let's say a $100,000 policy is affordable, but the 200 is a little bit outside of somebody's budget. Make them feel good about getting 100. And Ms. Johnson, that's perfect because Mr. Johnson, if something were to happen to you, she's still going to get $100,000. So you owe 200 on the house now, and your mortgage payment is what you said it was $1,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct? And I confirm, write down, get them to acknowledge, right? So if you owe, let's say it's 200,000 now, right? And let's say, God forbid, and look, it ain't about if it's when. We're all going to go home one day, right? So let's just be real. So let's say you owe $140,000 on the house and you pass. She's still going to get $100,000. It doesn't pay off the full mortgage, but she can simply, after she's had time to grieve, put you at rest, and all those emotional challenges that we go through when we lose a loved one, she's got $100,000 to call the bank and say, look, we owed 140. Here's 100. I want to refinance the other $40,000. And now she has a $230 a month mortgage payment, not $1,000. It's a lot easier pill for her to swallow. And she's not going to be at risk of losing the house with a $230 mortgage, right?
Yeah.
You got to position it, make them feel good about the decision, empower your clients to make their own decisions about what they're doing and feel good about the solution that they choose. Because any of those things help people. Trust me, somebody who's lost a property and all the equity they've built in it, wish they had $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000, even if it was nothing more than to have enough money in the bank, just to make the payments on the place so they could figure out what the hell they wanted to do. So these things are hugely important to people, and you have to tie all that into legacy or generational wealth. So many people think that you have to deal with real estate, which is a huge way to build wealth in this country. True, but you don't have to be in a position, nor is everybody able to buy commercial properties and apartment complexes and rent houses and all these other things, right? But what's the one piece of real estate that we all have? Your house.
Yeah.
You're building equity in that thing. If you don't think that your bank has entire teams of data analysts and folks with MBAs that are crunching numbers and looking at profitability projections and demographics and all those other things to know who's likely to and likely not to have this kind of coverage on their house, and you built equity in it and pass and somebody struggles and they lose the property and the bank steals the property and all the equity that you built, they take it as profit. You probably know somebody that's happened to, don't you? Relative or an acquaintance, whether now or somebody back in the day, Ms. Johnson, right? Think about how different that family's life would have looked if their great grandmother and father kept that property in the family and had it still today. Generationally, the wealth that was built in that, how different would those people's lives look? If they simply had a policy that was $40,000 to cover the payments on that place, they could have figured out what they wanted to do, would have made all the difference in the world to that family. Wouldn't you agree? Yep. You've got to use these things to empower people to feel good about what they're doing, because these are hugely important financial strategies. It's not just about, well, they pass away and they get money. It's basic form. It's that simple, but it ties into so many other things that you've got to educate people. Financial literacy is critical. And I don't mean people are stupid, because that's not. A lot of people are great, amazing people, and they may be even smart, people extremely intelligent, but financial literacy, a lot of people are challenged. They just don't understand what they can and can't do. But when you take the time to respect someone and teach them and answer their questions and educate them about how they can be empowered to take control of the decisions of changing everything for their family, not just in this one instance, but ongoing, it makes them feel good about what you've done for them. And so many people that I talk to, the things that I'm teaching them and I'm talking to them about, it's the first time they've ever heard it. And you can't teach something you don't learn, you don't know, right? So you're breaking cycles for some of these people. So what we do is hugely, hugely important, right? Half the people I talk to don't even know that if you make an extra payment directly to the principal balance on your mortgage once or twice a year, you can pay the house off in 15 or 16 years, not 30, because they don't understand how an amortization chart works. So again, teach people these things. Just have real conversations, and they'll appreciate you, and they'll buy from you because they trust you. They have confidence in what you're saying to them, because chances are no one else has ever took the time to teach them and talk to them and respect them, right? So anyway, I started to kind of get off on a tangent there, Eric. I just felt it important to kind of interject that for folks to kind of incorporate that in who you are, and again, be genuine and real, with what you do for these people. Eric?
No, John Paul, that's you're right on time, right on cue, everything. Those are some of the things, the exact same things that I was going to say, just to kind of round out the conversation, if you will, about the cake presentation. A couple of things. First, definitely check with your upline, before you go and make a bunch of changes to your pitch and all of those type of things. So they know where you are in your development and all of those type of things. So you don't want to just go and start scrapping stuff and now you have 100% something new or something like that. So make sure you stay in good contact with your upline. And for the record, that's really for everything, because they're right there in the trenches with you. They know where you are, and you just want to make sure that you're always on the right track. Then the second thing is to just kind of keep in mind as well that it's also important for us not to come into a situation with our own prejudices. And when I say that, meaning that, for example, return of premium, in Eric's mind, that makes 0 sense at all, like 0 cents, because basically that's all you're doing is giving the company an interest-free loan, and they're going to give you some of that money back, at the end. You can do almost anything and get a return. Even if you put it in the bank, you put that money aside in the bank, you would get a better return than a return of premium. But for some people, that makes perfect sense. Not everybody is on the same level when it comes to finances and understanding how money works and all of that. And I think a lot of times it's easy for us to go in, I don't like return of premium, so I'm not even going to present it. I'm not even going to say that as an option or whatever, but we just got to present what it is and see where that person is. And if their thinking is like yours, you can maybe go into a deeper conversation and talk about better options. And to John Paul's point, whenever you're able to build value in people, that is a human need. Chris needs that. John Paul needs that. Mary needs that. Mary Jo. Everybody needs to feel valued. So if you as an expert ever express value and an appreciation for what someone else is doing, that's huge. For you to be able to say, man, that's a nice strategy that you have there to pay off your home. Now, let me show you a little bit about debt-free life. This may be even a more efficient way to do it. They're going to feel great. And that's a person who will listen to you, will ride with you, and hear everything out, and more than likely stick with you and do it. But again, it cannot be overstated, that piece about value and building value in others. And if you as an expert, I mean, just think, whenever you talk to somebody about finances, whenever you talk to somebody about your mortgage, you talk to somebody about your money, to an accountant or whatever, whenever they have complimented you on something, you feel like, man, yeah, so what I was thinking was right. Everybody wants to be right. Everybody wants to feel value. So again, we cannot overstate that. And if you just kind of think about everything in general, basically the cake presentation is simply presenting the full mortgage or the partial mortgage payoff in such a way that it's easy to remember, and the consumer themselves, it's easy for them to kind of remember and to get the concepts. That's all I did was had a cake. These are the tiers, these are the riders, made the correlation, gave you an example of how each one of them works so there's no confusion. And how do you want your cake to look?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry, gonna make it available, like the wording and all of that for those, I guess, who are interested, the wording and all of that. Either I will try to do it, or John Paul or Chris or someone will put it, I guess, in crew for you to download.
Awesome. Outstanding job, Eric. I appreciate you, brother. Great information for everybody on the call. And I think it helps, to your point, the agents and the clients absorb and digest the information in a visual way to understand how these things are kind of stacked, and so that's great stuff. And to your point on the return of premium scenario, some people aren't good at saving money. Right. So this is kind of a forced savings account, and the one thing you can't get when you put money into the bank is obviously face value for life insurance. Whereas if you put money into a policy with a return of premium, IULs and other conversations, DFL aside, right? Some people may not want to go through that level of complication or that in depth, but some people may say, hey, I'm not really good at saving money, but I need the face value for insurance for the short term. And one strategy I've used for, this is really for younger folks, as they get older, it might not make as much sense, but, younger meaning, 20s, 30s or 40s, early 40s ish, maybe they got a 30-year mortgage, do a 20-year term policy with return of premium. And in that way, they can leverage the strategy of paying extra on the principal amount of the loan over the course of those years. And at the end of 20 years, if they haven't already paid off the house, they're going to get a lump sum refund from the ROP, and they can use that to pay off the balance of whatever's still left on the house.
Yes.
So either way, you still put yourself in a position to pay the house off in 20 years, not 30, right? Because you let the policy do the work, and you have the financial safety net of the face value of the policy during the time when it was most critical for you, when you owed the most, your kids are younger, you have the most financial hurdles in front of you, right? At the end of 20 years, a lot of those things have passed. Your kids are grown, a lot of times you're in college or whatever, or finished with college. And then you can use that lump sum payment you get back from the insurance company to just pay off what you owed on the mortgage. And now the house is free and clear, right? If the purpose of it, and these are just different ideas and strategies to have conversations with your clients. If their whole intent is to leverage this to protect the mortgage, if it's a financial safety net for the mortgage, you can really position that with a 20-year ROP conversation, or even 50. Well, you can't really do 15, but 20, because they get a lump sum back and they can pay off whatever balance they had on the house, right? Yeah. So, great stuff. Anything else you want to add on to that, Eric? You good?
No, I think you covered everything. That's good.
No, you covered everything, brother. I just added some color commentary. That was great, man. Outstanding. Outstanding. I
Thanks.
hope you found some
Appreciate it.
value in that. That was really, really good stuff, Eric. And then what I will say is a couple of other announcements on our end. Is that next Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern, myself and a few of my future AO leaders on my team, we're going to be hosting a corporate overview virtually on Zoom this next Wednesday. Eric is going to put together a graphic and a flyer for us to circulate. You're more than welcome to have folks join. Whether or not you're on my team specifically or not, everyone's welcome. I know there's been a lot of people asking about virtual that couldn't make it to other in-person ones prior to conference, or they just weren't any in their area, or maybe they couldn't make it, right? So, and then also just for folks that are interested, I'm actually after this on 2 different calls today. I was asked to be a guest speaker on Andrew Jimenez, his hierarchy call at 1 o'clock Eastern, and I'll be speaking as a guest on Grace and Shane Webb's team hierarchy call at 2 o'clock Eastern. Anyway, you're more than welcome. You guys probably hear me speak enough as it is. Those folks on those teams don't really get a chance to and it's good. Like I've had Andrew on our call before, right? Just to have folks with a different voice and different message on the call. So if anybody's interested in joining those, let me know, and I'll share the links with you guys if you want to join us. But anyway, again, Chris, anything you've got in closing today?
Yeah, just shout out to Eric. That was a great call. Great thoughts to share, and you can see why he's an up and coming leader and has got a fast growing team. A couple of things just to tack on to what he was sharing with you guys, and we don't think about this enough. And Eric, I love the way you set this up, because if you have somebody that selects one rider, just take accidental death benefit, and like in your example, Eric, what, $7 a month annualized? That's what, $84. So let's say you get commission on that rider. Now, obviously, you're getting commission on the policy, but what I'm sharing with you, the concept is you added on $7 a month, $84 a year. Half of that is $42. How much do our leads cost? $35 to $45 for an A lead. You just paid for your lead. Now everything else is profit margin on that sale. That's huge. So, think of it in those terms, guys. We don't think enough. Sometimes we're just so focused on, I got to get a policy in place. We don't think about $7 a month. I mean, especially when you tell people, hey, I'm going to take your $200,000 death benefit and make it $400,000 if you die in a car wreck. For $7 a month, most people are like, yeah, why not? I mean, $7 a month, I'll boil that in coffee, today. So they'll do that. The other thing it allows you to do is say somebody builds the entire cake. I want the whole thing. Guy, and this is the old car salesman coming out in me, but drop downs. They went for the full enchilada, and then you hit them with a $200 a month price, and they freak out. Oh, I can't do that. Well, that's not a problem. I'll tell you what, let's pull some of this stuff back. Do you really need return of premium? I mean, you could, and we start chiseling back and we get that down to $100 a month. That'll work for you, Mr. and Mrs. Client. Oh yeah, that's much better. So, and again, that's, we sometimes we get the no, oh, no way, I can't do that. Instead of, okay, let me go to work for you. I'm going to work for you. I'm going to put together a very special plan and start customizing that plan for them to make it work. So, and that fits very well with your cake analogy, because, how many brides have wanted the full 10-layer cake, but when it comes time for daddy to pay the bill, daddy says, nope, you're getting 3 layers and that's it. You better make them good. Right. So that's what we got to do. So we go for the 10 layers, but sometimes we got to drop back to 3, and clients get that. So I mean, that works perfectly. So I love that. It's a great job, Eric. And yeah, that was really a great call.
Outstanding. Well, I guess we're right about up at time here real quick. But what I will punt to the collective here, we got a few minutes. If there's any questions or anything that folks have for Eric in closing here at the call.
I have a quick question for you, Eric. So you're presenting the cake during your meetings. Do you have prices already set aside just in case they say they want the entire cake, so you don't have to go in and build during the call?
No, I don't personally pre-do everything. I wait and hear from them So they tell me how they want their cake to look, and I put the program together from there.
Yeah,
So
I would second that. Because there's too many variables, and they might want this but not that. I mean, you'd run yourself ragged and confuse the heck out of a customer, I think, by trying to have all these numbers on a paper. What I do personally, and I've done previous calls on this, is when I'm engaging a client on Zoom, I'm connected twice. I have my iPad that I'm on the Zoom where I'm meeting with the customer, and I have my computer logged in as an additional attendee with the audio off. So there's no feedback. So I'm talking to them and I share my screen from the computer. When we're building their cake and looking at the options, I'm logged in directly to the quoting engine and the carrier to the numbers, and I'm plugging them live with them so they can see exactly what each rider does real time, so they can know if they like that, add this, don't, because so I'm educating them and I'm giving them the ability, enabling them and empowering them to make their own decisions about choosing what they want. So that way the numbers come out exactly what they're comfortable with because they built it, right? So that way you don't have to run all the numbers in advance, so that's a little bit more advanced technique, I should say. But being able to engage the client live, you should be familiar enough with your quoting engine when you're running the numbers to just share the screen with the client and do the same exact thing. They'll appreciate you for it. Anything else you got on there, Eric, in closing?
No, just that, and essentially, I just have them choose their options, and I go ahead and just build it from there, and let them know that this is going to be this. If it comes back to where they are saying, okay, well, that's a little bit out of my range, or what have you, then just from experience, I already know that just adding that return on premium, is going to probably add what 60%, to their premium. So I may make the suggestion to pare that down and say, well, okay, well, there may be a better way for us to do this and to make your money work for you. So let's take off the return of premium. So in other words, we're just explaining why, given their situation and their circumstances that I've already found out from everything that they've told me, why this is probably going to be a better way to go about it. And then, of course, we just work and get that down into a range that's comfortable. And when we're comfortable, we already have the application teed up and we're writing.
And if I can add something.
The carriers. Oh, I'm sorry, Natalie. You
It's
pre-shop
okay,
the carrier for the client based on their medical information. So you know exactly what companies you're looking at in the appointment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if I can go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank
Natalie,
you. If I can go ahead and add something as well. Excellent job, Eric. Really, really proud of you. That's my mentor, y'all, along with JP. Proud of them both. But if I can also just add something, typically what I do is I'll just tell them, free reign, it's your choice. You tell me how much you want. And if at any point in time that you need some help, that's what I'm here for. I'm going to help you and show you a different way. So maybe you might not be able to afford the full 200,000. Maybe you can only do 150,000, but then let's go ahead and do 150,000 in death, accidental death. So I give them the choice to tell me exactly what they want, to have an idea of what they're wanting to do. And then from there, I also extend help so that they know when they need me to ask, and I'll tell them what my suggestions would be. So that's what I do.
That's a great point, Natalie. And again, for clients, when I talk to folks, I let them know up front that we're a team, right? We're here to work together. I'm not here to sell you anything. My job is to educate you as to what's available and empower you to make your own decision. So ultimately, we want to find the right policy that you qualify for, that's going to help protect your family, but also fit your budget. And only you know where that's comfortable, right? So whenever we go through this, there's a lot of different options available. I just want you to know that I'm here to guide you through that. So ultimately, whatever decision is made, the ball's in your court. You tell me how you want me to do this for you. Is that fair enough? So and let them know and give them open the door so that they know that they can be comfortable with and telling me that it's too much or they're not comfortable. And just tell them, sometimes I'll tell the customer, I said, look, bottom line is, Ms. Johnson, we want to make sure this is affordable. I find too many seniors who get themselves into policies and they just can't afford them anymore and have to let the policies go. And that defeats the whole purpose of what this is intended to do, to help protect your legacy and generational wealth for your kids and grandkids, right? So it's very important that we work together as a team to come up with a plan today that you feel comfortable with, that fits your budget, right? And I'll help you set it up any way you want us to do it. Is that fair? So you're telling them it's okay to be in the driver's seat. You want them to be in the driver's seat. I never steer a customer towards something or get them to buy something that's outside. In fact, I'll talk people out of it. I'll try to get them to narrow it down to where it's something I can feel that, or you can sense that they're not really comfortable or a little uneasy if it's there. But you have to let them know that it's okay to tell you that. And if somebody, says, well, that's a little, that's more than I'm really comfortable with. That's fair, Ms. Johnson. As I stated earlier, there's a lot of different ways we can do this, right? And we want this to fit your budget. That's what's most important in this entire conversation. Is that fair? Can you tell me about how much too much you think it is?
Well,
Right.
JP, if I get,
Go ahead. Who's that?
I'm so sorry. Go ahead and finish your thought. My apologies.
No, that was it. The point is just, you want them to know it's okay and have confidence and trust in you that they can open up and be vulnerable and tell you if she's on a fixed income and she can only afford $120 a month. Well, Ms. Johnson, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get you something that's $120 a month. And I'm going to find you the best policy available in America that gives you all the right solutions for what you told me you're concerned about. And I'll reiterate those. And you want to make sure that Keisha and Nicole are taken care of. When something happens, make sure the equity's left family, whatever. You got to use names of you have to understand who the beneficiaries are and tie all those things in and just be real with people, right?
Yeah.
I've been in this kind of sales, for 3 decades, over 30 years. And I honestly, I've never ever sold anybody anything. I've just always connected with people and shown them the options that best suit what they told me their concerns are or what they want to accomplish, and allowed them to tell me how they want me to assist them.
All right.
Natalia,
I did. And another thing that we do on our team, I know I personally do this a lot, and I do it before I even show numbers. I'll joke with them and I'll say, okay, here comes the numbers, and here's what we're going to do. I need you to practice with me saying, no, I can't afford that. And then we'll work the numbers down. And they'll giggle and laugh. And I say, no, I'm serious. Say, ma'am, you crazy. I can't afford that. And then they'll laugh and they'll say, I can't afford that. I can't hear you, a little bit louder. And they'll say it really loud. And I'll make a game out of it almost. And they'll get pretty excited about it. So when it comes that time, they don't feel embarrassed or ashamed to say they can't afford it. And sometimes the number that they have in their head, which I've found with my people, is actually a little bit more when they see the value of everything that they can get. So if they could have done $100, maybe they're like, you know what? I was thinking I didn't want to pay more than 100, but I can definitely do 150 or I can do 125. So again, it's just about giving them the control and letting them tell me what's affordable and what fits in the budget and showing them everything that we can do with all of that. And they appreciate it.
great point, Natalia. Well, I know we're coming up on the time. We're a couple minutes over here. But yeah, so again, outstanding job, Eric. Appreciate you, brother. Great information. Hopefully everybody on the call got a lot out of that. And listen, we've got a few weeks here coming up in the conference. Let's keep the gas on. Don't get surprised by the fact the conference is the 26th to the 29th on your personal production and recruiting, whatever you got going on. Lay the throttle wide open now. The hammer to the pedal, so that you can get a jump start on the month and be prepared so you can be there and absorb everything you can get from conference from a position of comfort and tranquility, as opposed to stress and worried about I got to get back and because I wasn't where I need to be. Don't let that happen. You already know it's coming. Get ahead of the curve. And we're excited to see everybody at conference. Remember, next Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock Eastern, we're doing a corporate overview. We'll post the graphic up once we get that completed. And that's it. I appreciate everybody. Have a great weekend and be blessed. Okay.